Deep in a corner of England, where ancient forests merge with gloomy castles and mysterious legends, lies a secluded mansion, lost amidst dense foliage. There, in the shadows of forgotten times, sprawls a sinister estate, its walls cloaked in cobwebs. Towering turrets reach towards the heavens, while windows, shrouded in heavy curtains, conceal secrets even the bravest would not dare to unveil. In this abandoned castle dwelled a youth named Edward. His parents, wealthy and influential, often embarked on business trips, leaving him alone. The evening of that fateful event was no exception. His parents departed to a nearby town to meet with old friends. As usual, when left alone, Edward decided to dine. He attempted to focus on his food, to distract himself from dark thoughts, but suddenly strange sounds emanated from his parents' room. Dull moans and whispers penetrated through the thick walls of the mansion, causing Edward's heart to skip a beat. He peered intently at the dark door, which remained closed, like a barrier between the realm of reality and unknown mysteries. Despite the fear gripping him, Edward resolved to ignore the sounds. He reminded himself it could be merely his imagination and stubbornly tried to concentrate on his dinner. Yet the sounds did not cease. They only grew louder and more horrifying, as if something sinister stirred from the depths of forgotten past. Edward shuddered with fear, but resolutely suppressed his fears and decided to retire to bed, comforting himself with the thought that it might all be just a figment of his imagination. However, when Edward awoke an hour later, he heard a sound that made his heart freeze with terror. A quiet, yet distinct whisper reached him from behind the door of his room. His hands trembled as he rose from the bed and took a few steps towards the door. Summoning all his courage, he dared to open it. Before him stood a small creature, covered in fur, with eyes gleaming in the darkness. Edward recoiled, frightened by this being that appeared utterly otherworldly. The creature whispered something into his ear, but the words were incomprehensible, like sounds from other realms. In terror, Edward shut the door and hid under the bed, hoping it was all just a nightmare from which he would soon awaken. But the door unexpectedly swung open, despite his efforts to lock it, and the mysterious creature drew closer, leaving dirty footprints on the floor, like traces of lost souls. For hours, Edward heard the creature's whispers, saw its dirty feet, piercing eyes, and felt the scent of fear it carried with it. But despite his desperate attempts to resist, he was powerless against its forces. When morning came, Edward was found in his room, chained to the bed. Doctors and his parents stood around him, their faces expressing deep concern. The doctor delivered a dreadful diagnosis: mental disorder. Since then, Edward remained confined within his own reality, haunted by nightmares of that night. He heard the voice of the creature, speaking to him, "I warned you.